If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Good advice in most cases, but totally off the mark in some. It's one thing to seek the good in people, but something else entirely to ignore an evil heart on open display. For instance, what's nice to say about Doeg the Edomite, who obeyed Saul's order and murdered 85 priests who did nothing to deserve it, and then led an attack on their village, killing innocent men, women, and children? 1 Samuel 22. While the Christian should seek to make peace with others at all times, that peace cannot come at the cost of honesty and truth. What Doeg did was evil, and as an Edomite, a descendant of Esau, he represents a long line of evil, murderous people who stand against God and his people. His kind continued because as an Edomite, Doeg was related to King Herod, who killed the babies of Bethlehem, Matthew 2, verses 16 through 18. And his son, also named Herod, is the one who killed John the Baptist. Today's Morning Minutes in the Bible on Throwback Thursday examines the attitude that leads to doing evil that has a home in the heart of many religious people, maybe even among our own brethren. The Good in King Herod by Robert F. Turner, from Plain Talk Magazine, September 1965. We have heard it said, there is so much good in the worst of us. Do you suppose we could find some good in the King Herod who beheaded John the Immerser? Read Mark 6, verses 14 and following. When the news of Christ's great miracles began to spread abroad, Herod heard of them and thought Jesus must be the resurrected John. Mark 6, verses 14 and 16. Herod had imprisoned John because his wife, ? Insisted upon it. Mark 6, verse 17. However, he had refused to have John killed, despite his wife's plea. Mark 6, verse 19. Even though John charged Herod with immorality, Herod respected John. In Mark 6, verse 20, we read, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and kept him safe. And when he heard him, he was much perplexed, did many things, King James, and heard him gladly. American Standard Version. But when the daughter of Herodias danced before Herod and the friends who banqueted with him, Herod was carried away with festivities. He put on the dog before his guests and promised the young dancer, whatsoever thou shalt ask of me. Mark 6, verses 22 and following. The daughter was persuaded by her mother to ask for John's head upon a platter. King Herod did not want to do this. Apparently he recognized his own sin and knew John was doing his duty as a holy and just preacher when he spoke out against such wrongs. But for the sake of his oaths and of them that sat at meat, he had the infamous act done. Mark 6, verse 26. Good old Herod would feel right at home among many brethren today. So many of them know they cannot find Bible authority for their practices. Secretly, they may even admire those who battle for sound conservative doctrine and try to keep the church pure. They'll listen on the radio, if no one catches them at it. But if certain ones come from James, Galatians 2:12, if it appears their sympathy for truth may classify them with that little bunch of antis, they switch their cud and talk out of the other side of their mouth. Good people, too much afraid to go to heaven. Under proper circumstances, they would put John's head on a platter. Wow. Those are some strong words, but sadly, they're true. And now, 55 years later, that attitude is still active among believers, which means, like it or not, we have to be bold and call it out for what it is, an evil attitude of unbelief, even if some say, that isn't nice. Just make sure it doesn't have a place in your heart. Let's be sons of God, not sons of Esau. Thanks for watching Morning Minutes in the Bible on Throwback Thursday. Until tomorrow, this is James McClenny hoping you have a great day.